students. So in our previous video we discussed regarding the solution chapter where we covered the Henry's law, its applications, and we discussed even regarding the Henry's constant, okay, how the solubility is related to the Henry's constant we have completed, okay. So and then we started about the vapor pressure. What do you mean by the vapor pressure? How it will going to affect if it is a solid in liquid solution or liquid in liquid solution, okay. We have just started that one. I hope you have gone through the previous video what we have done, okay. And in this video where we will going to study the further part of a Raoult's law, that we have completed only liquid in liquid solution, right? Liquid in liquid solution means where both the liquids will be a volatile in nature. Okay, in that case, how exactly the Raoult's law is applicable, we have discussed. Okay, so next, when it comes to the solid in liquid solution, means the solid that we have taken will be a non-volatile solute, means which will not going to evaporate when it comes in contact with the atmosphere. When that solid is taken and when it is dissolved in a volatile liquid, okay, the solvent that is selected will be a volatile in nature. How Raoult's law is affected, so we are going to discuss regarding that one, okay. And then followed by the graphical representation of a Raoult's law we are going to discuss. As I mentioned in the previous video, it plays a very important role for your theory exam as well as for the competitive exam. So we will going to concentrate on that as well, and then the ideal and the non-ideal solutions, very important students, okay. So we will concentrate on that followed by their graphical representation, okay. I hope whatever the things that I have explained in the previous video you have gone through, you have understood. So in that video let us move to the next part. So we'll go with the Raoult's law for the solid in liquid solution, okay. So as I told, solid in liquid solution means what? The non-volatile solute is taken, okay. The non-volatile solute is taken. For example, I could say the salt itself or the sugar itself. So when I keep a salt in the atmosphere, open air, it is hygroscopic in nature, means it will going to absorb the moisture of atmosphere. It turns into a watery substance. You might have observed that one, okay. That nature is called hygroscopic in nature, okay. So now what they are telling, so take a container, same thing what I explained in the last class, okay. So what I am taking here, the solvent which is volatile in nature, like I gave an example for the volatile solvent, those are the organic solvents, okay. Well, volatile solvent is taken, okay, like for example chloroform, benzene, whatever the organic solvents. I have filled in the container. To this what I am going to add? To this I am going to add the salt, or in a particular, like you can take a non-volatile solute, okay. So I am just going to write here, it is a non-volatile solute. Okay, non-volatile solute means what? It will not going to evaporate easily to the atmosphere, okay. So when I add the non-volatile solute to the volatile solvent, now whatever the thing we have in the container is a solution, agree? Is a solution, okay. Now this is covered with a lid. As usual, this is covered with a lid or the stopper, okay. So what happens at a given temperature, at a constant temperature, what happens? These solvent molecules which are volatile in nature, as I told, okay, will try to evaporate, okay, will try to evaporate and try to come to the vapor state. But what is happening here? The surface of the liquid is not only a solvent. The surface of the liquid or the solvent what we have is not only the presence of a solvent. Along with the solvent, there are the solute particles also there. Which solute? The salt or whatever the non-volatile solute. Also, they are covering the part of the surface of a liquid, okay, which are non-volatile in nature. So what happens? When these liquid which are volatile in nature will try to escape to the vapor state, okay, so obviously they will evaporate. It is like no case that they are not going to evaporate, they will, but compared to the pure solvent, the solution containing a non-volatile solute, very a little amount of very little amount of the solvent will evaporate into the vapor state. It's because these solute particles will decrease the tendency of a volatile solvent to evaporate, because the part of a surface is covered with a solute. So these solute particles, I would say, will not allow the solvent molecules to evaporate to the maximum level. Only a part of a solvent will evaporate, okay, and those vapors will again hit on the surface of a lid, and again they will come back with the same speed and will going to hit on the surface of a liquid which is in equilibrium with each other. Okay, so here what happened? More the vapors. Okay, here if I take a pure solvent where no objection, I could say, okay, no solute particles which are covering the way of a solvent to evaporate into a vapor are there. Okay, so here what happens? Maximum number of solvent molecules will come to the vapor state, so that the maximum vapor pressure will be created. What do you mean by vapor pressure? The pressure, the maximum pressure exerted by the solvent particles on the surface of a liquid. So it is quite clear that more the solvent molecules that evaporate, more will be the pressure. More the vapors, more will be the pressure. Here what is happening? Due to the presence of this non-volatile solute, very less amount of solvent are turning into a vapors, so that what is happening? The pressure that is even applying on the surface is also less. Okay, so in such cases, how we can consider, how we can calculate, how we can find out the vapor pressure of a given solution? It is by the mole fraction of a solvent. Okay, by considering the mole fraction of a solvent, the vapor pressure means the vapor pressure created is directly proportional, which generated is directly proportional to the mole fraction of a solvent that is present, not on the solute. Okay, mole fraction of a solvent that is present. So this is what the Raoult's law for the solid in liquid. When we compare with a pure solvent and the solution with a non-volatile solute, which will be having the more vapor pressure, the pure solvent will be having the more vapor pressure, where the solution will be having the less vapor pressure. Why? It is because of the presence of impurities. Okay, where the salt or the non-volatile solute are considered as an impurity here. Okay, so this is about the Raoult's law for the solid and liquid solutions. Quite simple. At a given temperature, I am going to write here at a given temperature, or you could say at a constant temperature. At a constant temperature, what happens? At a constant temperature, the vapor pressure of solution, containing non-volatile solute, okay, is directly proportional to the what? Directly proportional to the mole fraction of solvent. It is mole fraction of solvent in a solution, means that vapor pressure generated is directly depends only on the mole fraction of a solvent. Here nothing to do with the solute that we have taken, because since it is an impurity or non-volatile. Okay, so mole fraction of a solvent in solution. Okay, you can take it down if you want. So can I write the mathematical expression where PS, that is the vapor pressure of a solution, can be obtained, or the partial pressure of a solution, okay, is directly proportional to what? The mole fraction of a solvent. Okay, mole fraction of a solvent at constant temperature. Okay, if it is a pure solvent, the mole fraction value is equal to 1. So whenever I say pure solvent, okay, its mole fraction value is always a standard 1. So there what happens? PS is equal to, here I could write PS is equal to, by removing the proportionality, I could write constant over here, okay, into XS. Since a pure solvent, its value mole fraction equal to 1. I am going to substitute this excess value equal to 1. There what happens, I could say here PS is equal to, the vapor pressure of a solution is equal to P naught of S. Right? Pure solvent means the vapor pressure of a pure solvent. Pure is represented by a naught here. So I am going to substitute here the value like PS is equal to, the constant value becomes P naught S. PS is equal to P naught S into XS. So this is the mathematical expression for the Raoult's law for a solid in liquid. Okay, PS is equal to P naught S into X. PS is a vapor pressure of a solution is equal to a product of vapor pressure of a pure solvent into the mole fraction of a solvent in a given solution at a constant temperature. So this is about the Raoult's law for a solid in liquid. I hope you have understood this part. So let us discuss how we can represent this Raoult's law for the liquid in liquid solution, or I could say, or the solid in liquid solution through a graphical representation for the Raoult's law for a liquid components. Okay, so yes dear students, this is very important for your competitive exam as well as for the theory exam. Okay, so now here I have mentioned it as a liquid component. Okay, so liquid component means both the solvent that we have taken, means the solute and the solvent that we have selected, both are liquid, that we have discussed, right? So let us take A and B component, the two component, means let us take this as a solvent A, this as a solvent B. Now let us write the graph for both A component separately and the B component separately. Okay, then we will arrive to the final graph of AB components together. Okay, now just observe. So in the previous video we discussed like the total vapor pressure or the vapor pressure is a linear function of a mole fraction of A. The equation we derived. Okay, similarly the total vapor pressure is a linear function of a like a mole fraction of a B as well. Okay, here means both are linear to each other, means as the mole fraction increases, okay, as the mole fraction of a solute increases, the vapor pressure also increases. So these are linear to each other, okay, directly proportional to each other. Let us write, see here, just see. So let us take a component B, okay, so just concentrate. Let us take a component B which is still pure in condition, okay, a pure solvent I have taken. So B component, okay, so x-axis is the mole fraction of a B component, okay, whereas y-axis is a partial pressure, or you could say the vapor pressure, okay, vapor pressure of a B component, I could say. Okay, now see here. Now see, so here what is happening, initially xb equal to 0, okay, so here let us take xb equal to 1, means as the mole fraction of a component B increases, the vapor pressure also increases. So it's a linear function like this. Can I say? Yes. So whatever the vapor pressure, okay, I'm just joining here, okay, whatever the vapor pressure generated is because of this pure component B. Agree? Because of this pure component B. So I am representing here is P naught B. Okay, this is a pure component before mixing. This graph is just for the solvent B. Similarly, just see here, let us take a A component, okay, let us consider a A component, okay, so this is again the vapor pressure of like A, and here it is the mole fraction of a A component, okay, so here initially XA equal to 0, okay, here what happens, XA equal to 1, means as the mole fraction of a solvent increases, the vapor pressure of A also increases. So this is also what, a linear function like this. Agree? Okay, so I'm going to join over here a linear function like this, just join over like this. Okay, so whatever the pressure generated, it is because of the pure component A. So this is P naught A. Agree? Yes. Now, what I am going to do? I am going to mix A and B. Okay? I am going to mix A and B. Means I am going to take a A component, I am going to mix that to the B component. So it will become what? The solution now. Okay? When the solution is created, okay, so we saw that P total. What was the P total? It is sum of the partial pressure of a A plus partial pressure of a B. That is how the total pressure is obtained. Now, if I combine these two graphs, what happens? Just observe. Already B I have. I am going to take this A over here. Okay. So how means? Just it is quite simple. Okay. So here XB equal to 0, XB equal to 1. Okay. Like in this way, the mole fraction of B is increasing. So here what happens? This XA equal to 0, XA equal to 1. Okay. So how was the graph? It is increasing in this way. So I could draw a graph like this. Okay. So here I could say, so this is for Q naught B pure and here it is P naught A. Means I have taken this graph and I have included over here after mixing. Okay. So it's better I just take it off. Yes. Now see here. Okay. So now I have a A component as well as I have a B component. Okay. XB is increasing like this. Okay. XA is increasing like this. I hope you have gone through. Okay. So now how the total pressure is obtained? It is by the sum of the partial pressure of a A component and the B component. How the sum is represented? It is in this way. Okay. So that the P total is because of PA plus PB. Okay. The P total is because of PA plus PB. Okay. So this curve represents, this line represents the vapor pressure of a B component. How I can write here? So PB is equal to P naught B into XB. Agree? Whereas this line represents PA is equal to P naught A into XA. Okay. The sum of these two will give the P total. So this is a graphical representation for the Raoult's law of a liquid component. Okay. So first I drawn the two graphs separately. Then after mixing, how the graph will going to appear. Okay. So I'm just going to write neatly. Okay. So that you can understand very clearly. How to write the graph again? Okay. Just put a box like this. Okay. So let us take this is for XB, okay, equal to 0 and here XB equal to 1. Okay. So similarly here what happens? XA equal to 1, XB equal to, XA equal to 0. Okay. I'll tell you again by just combining the two graphs. Here what is happening? So here XB is increasing this way. Okay. So similarly XA is increasing in this way. Means if I consider the mole fraction of a B, as the mole fraction of a B increases, okay, so what happens to the vapor pressure? Vapor pressure also increases. Okay. So this is a pure component B. Okay. So now similarly as I go along in this way, as the mole fraction of A increases, its vapor pressure also increases. So can I draw a graph like this? Okay. So this is for what? A pure component A. Okay. So this graph, this line represents the PB is equal to how the pressure of a P or partial pressure of a B is obtained by the product of the partial pressure of a pure component B into its mole fraction. Okay. Similarly, how this is obtained? By PA is equal to P naught A into XA. Okay. If I combine these two, I am going to get a value that is P total. Okay. P total means PA plus PB. So this is what the graphical representation for the Raoult's law containing the two liquid component. Okay. So here you could observe the graph is not like this. You are finding exactly like this? No. Here it is somewhat leaning in this way. Means This represents the vapor pressure of a B component is more than that of a A component. Means the B component that we have taken is highly volatile in nature. Okay, so more the volatility of a B, more will be the vapor pressure. So that's why it is at the higher point where P naught A is little lower, means it is less volatile A compared to the B. This is how it represents, and this is the graphical representation for the Raoult's law of a liquid component. Okay, now when I say a liquid in liquid component, I could give many examples. Okay. So where if I take two solvents, for example benzene and toluene, okay, if I take two solvents, let us take A as a benzene and a B component as a toluene. Okay, when I am going to mix it, it should obey whatever the graphical representation I have written here. Means it should obey what? The Raoult's law. Okay, whatever the statement or the Raoult's law, what it states, the total pressure is sum of the partial pressure of a A component and the B component, or the mole fraction of a A component and the B component. So that benzene and toluene should obey this Raoult's law. Okay, if they obey such type of a solution, we will going to call it as what? An ideal solution. Yeah. This is where we arrive the next part of the chapter, ideal solution. Okay. The solutions which does not obey this Raoult's law at a given temperature and a pressure, those are called as what? Non-ideal solution. Non-ideal solution. Okay. Yes, dear students. We will discuss about the ideal and the non-ideal solutions, their graphical representation, okay, and what are the differences and what are the examples and how to remember the examples in the next part. So there is another small concept, that is when we compare the Raoult's law and the Henry's law. Okay, when I say the Raoult's law and the Henry's law, we know what do you mean by Henry's law. According to Henry's law, what they are going to say? The partial pressure of a component or a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to its mole fraction, right? So what was the a formula? PS is equal to KH into, let us take it as a gas, okay? KH into mole fraction of that gas. This is what the Henry's law defines, okay? The partial pressure is directly proportional to the mole fraction of a gas in a given liquid. Similarly, what does the Raoult's law states? According to Raoult's law, the partial pressure of a solution, okay, in a given, is directly proportional to the product of, the partial pressure of a pure component of a solvent into mole fraction of that solvent in a given component. So I could say in Henry's law as well as in a Raoult's law, the partial pressure is directly proportional to the mole fraction. Here also this partial pressure or a vapor pressure is directly proportional to the mole fraction. Okay. In both the cases, the mole fraction play a very important role. Same. Okay. Only difference is that KH and P naught is. Okay. In Henry's law, we are going to get a Henry's constant. In Raoult's law, we are going to get a P naught as the vapor pressure of a pure component. Okay. Both will become equal when the KH is equal to P naught. Yes. So that's why we are going to call the Raoult's law is a special case of a Henry's law. Both are one and the same if the KH is equal to P naught is. Such a small concept, but yet it is important. Okay, so let us move to the next part, as I told, that is the ideal and the non-ideal solution. To give an example about a benzene and toluene. Okay, here what happens? So before going to the next concept, that is the classification of a solution based on whether it obeys Raoult's law or not, let us have a little discussion about what happens when the two liquid components are mixed. Okay, see, quite simple. We will discuss this regarding later, because whatever I am discussing now is quite important for the differences of ideal and the non-ideal. So for that reason, just concentrate. Let us take a component A, okay, and a component B. Here what is happening? As I told, A component consists of only the A and B over here. B means the interaction of AA molecules will be there. Similarly, there is an interaction of BB molecules will be there. Okay, all the B molecules or all the B component or the solvent B are attractive with each other because there exists a force of attraction between the same molecule. Similarly, AA molecule or AA interaction will be more. Agree? Okay. Here what is happening? If the interaction of AA, the interaction or the force of holding up of the AA molecule is more, concentrate, if the AA molecules that are strongly held with each other, the force of attraction between them is more, means very less number of A molecules or the component will move to the vapor state. Agree? Right? Okay. So if the interaction between this, if these AA particles are strongly held, okay, very less number of molecules will reach to the vapor state. Agree? A very less number of molecules are reaching to the vapor state means obviously what happens to the vapor pressure will decrease. Okay? Yes. If the interaction of AA molecules is very less, means more the A particles will reach to the vapor phase and vapor pressure what will be more. Okay. Similarly, the same concept is applied here. Okay, where when the BB component or the interaction between the BB particles of the same solvent is more, means, okay, strongly held means obviously less B particles will reach the vapor state, okay, and the vapor pressure will also be less. Okay, so this indirectly will going to affect the volume, change in volume also. Okay, this indirectly will going to affect the delta H value, the enthalpy or the heat of the solution when this A and B are mixed. Okay, when the A component and the B component are mixed, as I told, the interaction between the AA and the interaction between the BB, after mixing, what happens when I mix these two? Okay, when I mix these two, what happens? We have a A molecules, we have a B, we have a B. Once we mix, there exists an interaction or the bond between the AB particles. If the interaction of AA is equal to BB, even after mixing, the interaction is also the same as that of like AA, BB and AB, then they follow the Raoult's law. Then they are called ideal solution. Okay. In all the cases, it is not necessary that the interaction of a AB should be same as that of a AA and BB. Okay, if the interaction mode, the bond will not break easily. Agree? If the bond will not break easily, means the most of the A and B will not reach the vapor state. Okay, so if they won't reach the vapor state, obviously what happens to the vapor pressure, total vapor pressure decreases. Okay, so if the bond need to break, means the enthalpy of a solution changes. Heat may release or heat may absorb. Okay, if the interaction more, means the particles are held together. Okay, after mixing, the volume may increase, may decrease. Okay, so based on all these concepts, the solution is classified into ideal and the non-ideal solution. So we will discuss regarding one by one and what are all the reason for those differences, even that also we are going to discuss. Okay, so let us write the first difference. And dear students, you have to remember this question being repeatedly asked for the 2 marks. Okay, in the part D. In the part D, especially the 12th question will going to appear. based on this ideal or the non-ideal solution, difference they may ask, or the condition they may ask, like that. So it is very important, okay, even for the competitive exam, they will going to ask the examples, okay, where the 4 examples of a solutions will be given, okay. In that you have to choose which one is an ideal solution or which is a non-ideal. How they are going to ask, you have to answer in that. Now see here. So now I am writing the differences between the ideal and the non-ideal solution. What is the first point? Based on the whether they obey the Raoult's law or not. So first one is that ideal solution will obey Raoult's law. Ideal solution will obey what? Raoult's law. Whereas non-ideal solution does not obey Raoult's law. Does not obey Raoult's law. Quite simple. So based on which we have classified, right? So does not obey Raoult's law. Means what? Means what? So according to it, if it obeys means the vapor pressure, okay, the total vapor pressure or vapor pressure of a solution is equal to a product of vapor pressure in a pure component into its mole fraction, okay. So let us take this as a A component, okay, A and A. Similarly, PB is equal to P naught B into XB. This is a condition. This is what the Raoult's law, okay. The vapor pressure generated is directly proportional to the product of a vapor pressure of a pure component and its mole fraction, okay. Similarly, if it doesn't obey means where the vapor pressure of a A is not equal to the product of vapor pressure of a pure component A and its mole fraction. Doesn't obey means is not equal, okay. Similarly, PB, the vapor pressure of a B component is not equal to the product of a vapor pressure of a pure component B and its mole fraction. Does not obey and it obeys, okay. So can I write in another way like P total is equal to PA plus BB. This is what the Raoult's law. But here it doesn't obey means the P total is not equal to the sum of PA plus PB. Okay, these are all the conditions. The first difference I am writing, which obeys Raoult's law, which does not obey Raoult's law. Okay, so please note it down if you want. Okay, so the next one is as I told. If the solution is obeying the Raoult's law, then the AA interaction, this is what I discussed now, the AA interaction, okay, should be equal to BB interaction. Okay, I'll explain, don't worry. BB interaction is equal to AB interaction, means whatever the force of attraction that is existing between the AA component before mixing should be equal to the BB interaction before mixing, and even when we mix AB component, their interaction should also be equal to these interaction. Then it obeys Raoult's law. Quite simple. When there is no change in the interaction, when the bond between them is almost the force of attraction is same, obviously more the molecules, same number of molecules will lead to the vapor phase and same will be the vapor pressure even after mixing. Quite simple, okay. So this is another condition. But here what happens? Here what happens in non-ideal solution? What they are going to tell? The AA interaction may not be equal to BB interaction, okay, which may not be equal to AB interaction, okay. This is according to the non-ideal solution. What exactly this means is, when I take a AA component, the force of attraction between the AA component might be more, okay. So when I take a B component before mixing, the force of attraction between them will be very less, very loosely held might be, okay. But when I mix A and B component together, the force of attraction may be more over there, means strongly might be held over there. If they are strongly held after mixing, very less component will reach to the vapor phase. So the vapor pressure will going to affect. If the vapor pressure will going to affect, so its value will not be equal as according to the Raoult's law. Quite simple. Okay. So these are the two conditions for what? The ideal and the non-ideal solution. Next comes, I am taking off the first difference. Okay. So the next difference, what they are going to tell, they are quite related to the interaction. That's why I gave that as a second point. Okay. So the third point, what they are telling, the third point, delta V upon mixing. Okay, delta V upon mixing is equal to 0. What do you mean by delta V? Delta V means the change in the volume upon mixing. The change in the volume upon mixing is equal to 0. According to them, there is an A component, there is a B component, there is a component A and B. Okay. According to them, let us take the component A will be with a volume V1 before mixing. Okay. In another container, the B component with a volume V1 itself. Okay. Same volume as there before mixing. But according to the ideal solution and the Raoult's law, even after mixing, the volume remains same. Okay. The volume remains same even after the mixing. That means what? The AA interaction, if it is equal to the BB interaction, the volume remains same. Even after when I mix, if the interaction would have been more, what might have happened here? They are going to held together very near to each other, so the volume might have decreased. But here what is happening? The interaction even after mixing is same. So the delta V upon mixing is equal to 0. Means the volume remains constant even after mixing. Okay, a very simple concept. Now, here come the non-ideal solution, the third difference still. So obviously, for the non-ideal solution, delta V upon mixing is not equal to 0. Means upon mixing, the volume may increase, may decrease based on the interaction. This is what I have told, based on the interaction. Means if AA molecules are strongly held, see here, if the AA molecules are strongly held, let us take this as a V1. Okay, so this is A component. Similarly, before mixing, the BB component have like the force of attraction or the interaction is very less. So here what? The volume is V2. Okay. When I mix these two, when already the interaction is different, the volume definitely will change. Like it may increase like this. Okay. Or if the force of attraction is very more, means it may decrease to this level. Means the volume changes upon mixing. Okay. So that is delta V upon mixing is not equal to 0. Like for you people, a 1 mark question might appear in the part A. What is the value of volume or delta V value for the ideal solution? What are you going to say? It remains same or it is equal to 0. Such type of questions will appear. Okay. So this is what the third difference. Okay. Now the fourth one is delta H upon mixing. Delta H upon mixing equal to 0. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by delta H? Delta H is enthalpy of a reaction, heat of a reaction. What do you mean by heat of a reaction? When AA molecules before mixing will be with a 1 force of attraction, okay, BB with a 1 force of attraction. Here, when I mix A and B component, obviously there should be a bond formation. There should be a bond formation between the AB particles. Agree? The bond formation, at the same time the bond breaking. should involve the enthalpy. Either the heat should be released or heat should be absorbed. Okay, but here what they are saying, delta H upon mixing remains same. Means the heat is neither like not produced, not gained or absorbed. It remains constant even upon mixing, where in case of an ideal solution. But when it comes to non-ideal solution, delta H upon mixing is not equal to 0. Means it may increase or it may decrease. Obviously, what happens if the AA molecules are strongly held, okay, before mixing, I need to break this bond upon mixing. Means this AA molecule should break its bond, so that similarly BB molecule should break its bond, so that A and B bond might form. Okay. Here the breaking of the bond is also taking place, the making of bond is also taking place. Obviously the making and the breaking of the bond requires energy, or it may involve the release of energy. So delta H upon mixing is not equal to 0. Means there is some amount of enthalpy generated or absorbed during this non-ideal solution. Clear? Okay. So these are the differences for the ideal and the non-ideal solution. Okay. So on what basis the ideal solution is prepared? How means, for example, when the solution we are preparing for ideal solution, when I consider the two components, those two components I am selecting based on their molecular size, their structure and the interaction. If they have a similar molecular size, if they have a similar interaction, if they have a similar structure, then they will going to obey this Raoult-Star and they are considered as an ideal solution. So in a general, I could say there are very less a solution which will going to exist as an ideal solution. Though also there exist some differences over there. Okay, let us take some of the examples for the ideal and the non-ideal solution. For the ideal solution we could write, so the way to remember here is that most of the ideal solutions will be like organic solvents. Okay, organic solvents, as I told, of like a similar structure, okay, similar and somewhat same of a molecular size, like that. Okay, so the best example I could take here is benzene, okay, plus toluene. Benzene plus toluene. This is one example. Okay, similarly N-hexane, okay, plus N-heptane. N-hexane plus N-heptane. Similarly, I could give an example of a chlorobenzene plus bromobenzene. Chlorobenzene plus bromobenzene. Okay. Similarly, I could give bromoethane, okay, bromoethane plus iodoethane, bromoethane plus iodoethane. So I could give these example as an ideal solutions. Okay, the way to remember, almost all the organic solvents over here and everything is ending with Ne. Okay, this is how you need to remember. Okay, so in your competitive exam, if the question appears based on this, so if we have such combinations, this comes under what? The ideal solution. Okay, if you want, you can take it down. Next comes non-ideal solution. Here I could give an example of a non-ideal solution directly, but as I told while explaining the difference, in a non-ideal solution, the interaction, AB interaction is not equal to AA interaction is not equal to BB interaction, and it is not equal to AB interaction. This is what I told, right? So, if there occurs some more interaction, if the force of attraction between the AA is more, means the enthalpy will also vary. It becomes very difficult to break the bond. So in such cases, what happens? We need to provide a enthalpy to break the bond, right? Okay. So based on all this concept, especially this concept, a non-ideal solution is classified into two types. The non-ideal solution is classified into two types, that is non-ideal solution with a positive deviation to Raoult's law. Non-ideal solution with a positive deviations to Raoult's law. Non-ideal solution with a negative deviation to the Raoult's law. Okay, and to the Raoult's law. Okay, so ideal solution, this is what it covers. The graphical representation for the ideal solution is the same graph what we wrote for the Raoult's law. So obviously, give an example for the solution which obeys Raoult's law means this. Give an example for the ideal solution means this. Give the graphical representation means the same graph which I wrote. Okay, so in the previous, while discussing about the graphical representation of a Raoult's law. Now, in the next video, we will going to discuss in detail about the non-ideal solution with a positive deviation and the negative deviation, their examples, their graphical representation, why it's supposed to happen like this. All these reasons and the points we are going to discuss in our next video. Okay, I hope whatever the points I have explained over here you have gone through. Okay, I hope you are getting it very clearly. Okay.